from TSC Tuition, and today I'll be reviewing a creative response on Kate Grenfield's The Lieutenant or The Lieutenant. Today's creative response was written by a past student of mine, so I actually have two drafts that I'll be talking about. Both of these drafts will be up on my website, so go to the description box below and click on the link so you can have a read of it first before you keep watching this video. The first draft is obviously incomplete, and the student has fallen into that classic trap of the inner monologue, which I've talked about in some of my past videos. I don't mind that it starts quite strong and on a very emotional note, but I think what the student will find difficult as they keep writing, it's really hard to keep up that level of emotional intensity. So my advice to the student was that they pull back from that emotional intensity from the beginning so that there's more space for the student to work with as they keep writing. My other piece of feedback for this student was that there's a lot of statements from Gilbert about what he's thinking and what he's feeling. It's easy to write in this sort of way because that's the way that we're taught to write for essays. But unfortunately, your creative response is not an essay. In an essay, it's perfectly fine to say, this character feels this way because of X. So what a student needs to do is to cast their minds back to year 7 or year 8 when your teacher kept telling you to show, don't tell. In the case of the creative response, we need to show what the character is feeling rather than tell your teacher what the character is feeling. The same goes for themes. We need to show your teacher what the themes are and what these characters are thinking about these issues, instead of just telling your teacher what they're thinking. I'll point out one sentence in particular. The confrontation between Rook and Gilbert may have brought Rook some peace, but it caused Gilbert to be consumed with rage and fury. If you're writing a sentence where you are literally saying your character is feeling an emotion because of an event, you need to go back to your draft and rewrite it so that you are showing what they're feeling rather than telling what they're feeling. Now, fortunately, this student of mine took my feedback on board and rewrote it. This student used the imagery of the birds and the sounds coming from his hut to show the rage that Gilbert is feeling. So instead of saying it caused Gilbert to be consumed with rage and fury, the birds that surround Gilbert's hut fled as if they knew that a dark curse was slowly brewing. I love the use of the imagery of the birds there because that's consistently used throughout the novel. And by using that same imagery, the student is demonstrating that they understand what the author is doing with the birds in the original text and then transposed it into their creative response. I also really like that this student took on board my advice about the emotional intensity of that first draft and really pared it back at the beginning. So instead of having Gilbert fly into a rage right from the beginning, this student has decided to have Gilbert make a cup of tea instead and have that brooding silence and the wait for that boiling kettle of water build that intensity towards the end. The other thing that I think this student has done really well on this second draft is that the student has toned down the inner monologue to just one word. Instead of having that very lengthy sentence, no one in their right mind would have spoken to him that way, we now simply have Gilbert thinking to himself in subordination. I like that this entire thought is summed up so neatly in this one word, because in that one word it really sums up very nicely that idea of authority and respect for authority being a natural God-given order. There's a few little pieces of criticism that I would give, such as the voice of this second draft is a little bit uneven. So for example, when the student writes out of line, I think that breaks away from that original narrative voice. That I would tell the student to maybe go back and polish it up a little bit. But if the student continued to write in this vein, I think the student would do very well, and they did do very well in their SAC. So I hope that was helpful. As always, like and subscribe to this channel for more content like this. And if you've got a suggestion for future video content, please leave me a comment below. And if you'd like to get some one-to-one tutoring in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne, please contact us and we can send someone out to you. Thanks for watching.